All right, guys. So on the last video, I was talking about a little bit about recovery. Okay, so when you're doing the recovery, you're taking this dip here. But today, I actually want to talk about overload. So overload. Let me take this off here. So overload is a very important principle if you want to make developments. So if you're actually just doing this. So for instance, you're periodizing, but this is all you're doing. So between month 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is what you're doing. You're never actually going to make any progression. So overload is a very important principle. So with each step, you need to be doing more than you can. Okay, so one of the philosophies that I like to implement is the concept of, it's actually based on the concept of fairness. Okay, so I'm going to relate this to a life principle, but it's the same that you would use, let's say, in training. Okay, so I believe that in training, you need to train where the challenge is bigger than you. Okay, so there is no sense of fairness in a competition. It's whoever's trained the best is going to win. Whoever has the most fortitude, like the most constitution, and you know, the resiliency and skill and training is going to win, right? There's no matter of fairness. There's just a matter of preparedness. Okay, so in training, we need to train for failure. Okay, so we need to train in a sense that to a point where we can't do it. So month 2 must be harder than month 1. Month 3 must be harder than month 2. Okay, so now if you want to adapt, this is, for instance, this is my chart here, but if we're using this one, each month has to be harder. Okay, so now this hard is actually going to push you to your limits, and then you obviously have your recovery, which we talked about on the last video, which is also crucial. But you need to train more than you're capable of doing. If you're not training more than you're capable of doing, then you're not gonna be progressing in your development. Again, not breaking a plateau. So sometimes, like in the other video, I was saying how sometimes the recovery is required to break the plateau. Sometimes pushing more and not quite yet recovering is to break that plateau. So there needs to be an equal balance between both of them. So you need to work hard as well as recover hard. Okay. So that's such an important aspect, is to train more than you can. So the whole concept of training is failing. So if you want to succeed, the whole concept of it is failing. Okay, so choose things that will make you fail during practice. Okay, and then with practice, your body will adapt, right, to the difficulty and the challenges. Because what happens is, for instance, when you break down your muscle, your body says, okay, let's build more muscle so that it doesn't fail the next time. So it builds a sort of intelligence in your body that says, let's prepare for that failure so it doesn't happen again. Okay, so knowing that mechanism in your body, actually even in terms of training flexibility, your body actually loses flexibility because your body is intelligent that way. So if you're overstretching, if you're overtraining and not doing the proper recovery and flexibility, your body will actually get more tense, create more scar tissue. So to ensure that you're not stretching out as far. So you need to understand the mechanism of the body in how training actually forces adaptation to your body. So overload for muscle and for skill and power or whatever, that kind of development, an overload is a must. Okay, in flexibility, overload is a must too, but you got to be more strategic about it. Okay, so that's the whole thing, is you need to push yourself beyond your means. Okay, so it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. Especially, it's not just okay to fail, it's essential to fail when you're doing physical training. Okay, so I remember when I was in SEAL Fit there, they were saying if you can make it hard, make it hard. Okay, so for me, Kokoro was game day. But for some people, it wasn't game day, it was actually a preparation, because some of these people are actually getting ready to go into, you know, some sort of soft academy, like special operations or whatever, right? So for some people that was practice, and they said to those guys, well, pretty much to everybody, if you can make it harder, make it harder. So that was practice, and failure was essential, and breaking past that barrier of failure was key, right? So at any time in training, if you can make it harder, make it harder. Okay, so that's very, very, very important. If you're not making it harder, if you're not failing, it doesn't really point you in any direction to growth. You know, I could easily take up any sport and play against elementary students and be the best. It's not going to improve me. Okay, so if I'm playing with somebody with a higher game, I can start picking up, okay, where am I failing? What are they doing? And you know, you can apply that to actually everything in life. You need to apply to fail, to learn, and make corrections. So especially in physical fitness, incredibly important that you need to push to failure in order to meet the criteria of your periodization, obviously followed with recovery. So it's important to recover hard and also train hard, all right? So the overload, this principle is actually just called overload. So it's a very, every personal trainer or whatever should have a great, strong understanding of that. And most people do, okay? A lot of times when it comes down to athletes, it's not about, the problem isn't usually overtraining. The problem is usually under recovery. So, so the people that are starting a program, you need to push yourself to a different level of training, not where you're comfortable, somewhere outside of that in order to expand and to grow. And trust me, like I said, a lot of athletes, that's not the problem, because you eventually learn to love pushing yourself. So start pushing yourself and you'll begin to actually enjoy it, okay? And don't be afraid of failure. The whole concept is to fail. You're lifting to failure, you're training and you're running and you're pushing and whatever to failure. And then you expand that way, okay? All right, see you later, guys.